Dear students, in this session, let us start with the next type of specialized connective tissue, that is the vascular tissue or fluid tissue. So here let us discuss few important aspects about this vascular tissue or fluid tissue. So first thing what you need to remember is that it has fluid matrix. Okay, matrix is right fluid in nature. This is the first point. Okay, and the second point is that it possesses free floating cells. Free floating cells. Because of these two reasons, okay, generally the matrix is fluid and they have free floating cells. All right, since the fluid part here is more, all right, fluid part is more than compared to the cellular part. That is why it is called to as fluid connective tissue. All right, so this point you remember, dear students. Further, let me tell you, it differs from other connective tissues which we had discussed. Matrix here is motile. The matrix is in movement most of the time, all right, as it is a fluid matrix it has. That's why, whereas one more important point which you can consider is that the fibers which we found, say for example elastin fibers and the collagen fibers which we found with respect to the connective tissues are generally absent here. All right, see, first point is the matrix is motile and the fibers are also absent. All right, so this is also called as circulating tissue. All right, dear students. Furthermore, let me tell you that the matrix is not secreted by the cells here. All right, we found that matrix in fact was secreted by the cells in other connective tissue, so it is not secreted by the cells. Remember these points. All right, and furthermore, let me tell you, dear students, that the vascular tissue supplies nutrients to the cells, other in fact cells or tissues of the body, or rather we can say it helps in the supply of nutrients across the body. All right, see, these vascular tissues, all right, helps in supplying of nutrients where almost to the nook and corner of the body, to the cells, to different parts, to the even either tissues or organs or cells it might be, right? Okay, students. So furthermore, right, as it transports nutrients, it can also be called to as transporting tissue. Right, so these are few general points which we need to consider when we are talking about the vascular tissue. Further, dear students, we have two types of vascular tissues. The first type we have here is the blood, and the second type of vascular tissue we have here is lymph. All right, so these are the two types of vascular tissue. So let us now start with the first type of vascular tissue, that is the blood. So when we are talking about blood, right, let me tell you that the study of blood is called as hematology. The study of blood is called as hematology. Okay, this is the first point. Okay, here, all right, it is derived from Greek, students. So here in Greek, haima means blood, all right, and logi means or logos means study. All right, that's what is called as study of blood. All right, further, now let me tell you, technically speaking, in fact blood is a tissue rather, right, we are considering it as a tissue. all right, and it is rather a specialized fluid in our body. Furthermore, let me tell you that blood constitutes about 8% of our total body weight. Just blood constitutes about 8% of the total body weight in adult man, all right. So in a man, if you consider who is weighing 70 kgs, all right, 70 kgs man, if you consider, all right, around 5 to 6.5 liters of, all right, blood will be present in the complete body. If adult man of 70 kg, when you consider, so around 5.5, rather we can say, to 6.5 liters the blood will be present. Okay, so this is few important aspects we need to consider with respect to blood. Now, physical characters of blood when we consider, all right, let me tell you that blood is red colored circulating connective tissue. It is red colored circulating connective tissue, first point. Okay, then secondly, let me tell you, it is a bit sticky in nature, all right, as well as it is viscous, all right. Its viscosity, rather we can say its viscosity, all right, is around 4.7. remember this might be important for your competitive examinations like NEET and CET. Okay, furthermore, it is much heavier than water. Okay, so we can say it is just slightly heavier, all right, than compared to water. This is also one important point you need to consider, dear students. Further, the pH of this blood is around 7.4, all right, and let me tell you, in our body we have two, all right, types of in fact blood which is running generally in the veins, all right. The deoxygenated blood moves. The same when we consider the arteries, all right, we have the oxygenated blood. Oxygenated here refers to the blood which is rich in oxygen. Deoxygenated blood refers to the the blood which is not having much of oxygen. In fact, carbon dioxide will be more in the deoxygenated blood. So these are few physical characters of blood we need to consider, dear students. Next, moving on to the composition of blood. Okay, the first fluid connective tissue we are discussing. So we have already known about the general aspects about blood and the physical characters. So next is the composition of blood. So we need to understand what are the constituents which are present in the blood. Okay, so with respect to that, let me tell you, there are two major constituents which we can find with respect to the blood, all right. So here the two major constituents are, the first one, we have the watery fluid part, we call that to as the plasma, all right. Then the second we have is formed elements, all right. So formed elements and the watery fluid part called as plasma. So plasma constitutes about 55% of the total blood volume, all right, and the remaining 45% we have the formed elements. Let me repeat, dear students, that blood has two major constituents. The first we have is the watery fluid, we call that as the plasma. Then we have the formed elements. Okay, the formed elements are, we need to divide it into again 3 types. Okay, the first we have is the red blood corpuscles, all right, or they are also referred to as RBCs, all right. This is the first one. Secondly, we have white blood corpuscles, which are also referred to as in short as WBCs. Okay, to go with that, we have platelets, all right. So these are the 3 important formed elements which we can find with respect to the blood. And further, let me tell you, see, RBCs in scientifically we refer that to as erythrocytes, all right. Then secondly, we have the WBCs, which are also referred to as leukocytes, and for the platelets, we generally refer it to as, for the platelets we refer it to as thrombocytes, all right. Let me repeat. For red blood cells, we also call it to as the erythrocytes, remember. And for white blood cells, we also refer it to as leukocytes, whereas for the platelets, we call them to as also as thrombocytes, all right. And let me tell you, these are the important aspects with respect to the composition, all right. Now, when we consider the plasma and its constituents, okay, so let me tell you that it is the intercellular matrix or substance of blood tissue. I am referring it to as what? Intercellular substance we can refer it to as, or we can also call this to as the matrix of the blood tissue, dear students, all right. So that is plasma. So it is, which is already I have told you, fluid, or you can also say it to as liquid part of the blood, all right, in which the blood cells are suspended, all right. For the movement of blood cells, they requires the liquid, okay, which is the plasma. Okay, now few important aspects with respect to composition of plasma also let us understand. Before that, let me tell you, plasma is generally pale yellow fluid, okay, and it is slightly alkaline, okay, or it is basic in nature, all right. When we consider the pH, it is just above 7, okay. It is viscous fluid, all right. First point I said is it is pale yellow in color, slightly alkaline, okay, just above the neutral pH, which is 7, just above, all right, pH 7 it will be, all right, and it is the viscous fluid. Now let me tell you that it roughly constitutes, in this water constitution is about 90 to 92%, all right, is just water. This is the major, all right, major constituent is water, which is nothing but 90 to 92%, dear students, all right. Then students, let me also tell you, it has around 1 to 2% of inorganic salts, all right. Remember, 90 to 92% of water is present here, and 1 to 2% of inorganic salts are present. Further, let me tell you that 6 to 8% plasma proteins are present, all right. 6 to 8% is just we have the plasma proteins, and the remaining 1 to 2% what we have here is other organic compounds. All right. So this is the constitution, all right, or the components which can be present with respect to the fluid of the blood called the plasma. So let me repeat, it is pale yellow in color, slightly alkaline, viscous in nature, all right. Water it has 90 to 92%, 1 to 2% of inorganic salts, 6 to 8% of plasma proteins, and 1 to 2% of other organic compounds. Now let me tell you the inorganic salts which are present in the plasma. Alright. See, the inorganic salts which can be present in the plasma are chlorides. Okay, we can find firstly the chlorides, then we also have carbonates. Okay, then bicarbonates are also present. To go with that, sulfates can also be present, and phosphates of we can find sodium, all right, Na, sodium, then we have potassium as well as calcium and so on, all right. So these are the inorganic salts which we can find in the plasma. These are the major ones. Okay, see, that is the chlorides, carbonates, bicarbonates, sulfates, and the phosphates of sodium, potassium and calcium. All right, to go with that, even we can also find iron. All right, iron, very important, iron is also present. Organic constituents are also present, that is the carbon containing components can also be present in the blood. Okay, so other than that, proteins are as well, we can find in them. So different types of proteins are present. Okay, the important of them are, like we can find, firstly let me say, for example, albumin, or we can also say it as serum albumin. All right, so this just constitutes about 60% of plasma protein. Just imagine. Okay, so it is the highest concentrated protein which can be present in the plasma. All right, so it is 60%, dear students. Other than this, we can find other proteins as globulins can be present, or serum globulins, it is around 36%. So these two are the major ones. In the plasma, 60% of the proteins are albumins or serum albumins, also we can refer it to as. Then globulins or serum globulins also we can refer it to as. So 60% is albumins, 36% is globulins. And the next we have fibrinogen. All right, it also constitutes around 4% of the total plasma proteins. All right, and in other very meager quantities we can also find prothrombin, properdin, all right, and many other or rather proteins. Okay, so these are few important aspects with respect to the proteins of the plasma. Okay, next we have few functions, let me tell you. See, the plasma is important for maintaining acid base balance. Okay, so this is the first function. All right, and secondly, plasma has antibodies. Okay, we call them as immunoglobulins. Antibodies, or it can also be called to as antibodies are also called to as immunoglobulins. Okay, so which protect our body against infections or foreign pathogens. All right, then plasma has prothrombin, fibrinogen. All right, see, they have proteins like prothrombin, fibrinogen and so on. All right, so they help in wound healing. All right, by the process of blood clotting, they help in clotting of blood during injury. All right, so remember these two proteins. Okay, then further, plasma protein also acts as a reserve for the body. Okay, so because it helps in synthesis of many proteins, production of many proteins can occur in the plasma. All right, plasma proteins help in transportation of many molecules, okay, and what we can say hormones. All right, hormones, enzymes, transportation can occur through or with the help of plasma, right, dear students. Further, all right, they also play an important role in maintaining our constant body temperature called as homeothermy. So these are few important aspects, dear students, you need to remember. Okay, and to go with that, plasma also has, cholesterol, and they also possess an anticoagulant called anticoagulant. That means anticoagulant means which avoids blood clotting. All right, so the protein, we have anticoagulant protein called heparin in the blood. Okay, so remember, and furthermore let me tell you, the waste products are also present in the plasma. All right, like in the plasma we can find the waste products as, all right, say for example here we have ammonia. All right, these are the waste products in the plasma, the fluid component of blood. Okay, then uric acid, urea. To go with that, the main important, again one more compound called creatinine. These are the major waste products, nitrogenous products rather we can say, that is ammonia, uric acid, urea and creatinine. All right, and it also has dissolved gases. The gases are dissolved here. So firstly it has oxygen, then carbon dioxide, all right, are the dissolved gases. To go with that, even as I said you, enzymes and hormones already I have told you. So along with that, even many vitamins can also be present with respect to the plasma, dear students. All right, so these are few important functions of plasma we need to remember, dear students. Students, before moving to the discussion of other aspects, let me first tell you few important aspects through the this one, the chart, okay, depicting the composition of vascular tissues. See, vascular tissues are divided into firstly the blood, all right, and the second is the lymph, right. Then further, blood is divided into plasma and corpuscles or corpuscles, right. Then lymph is divided into plasma and leukocytes, or the WBCs also we can say it to as. Here, other than the plasma, let us first tell me the corpuscles. So corpuscles are here divided into erythrocytes, all right, erythrocytes, and secondly we have the same here, leukocytes, all right, and then platelets, all right, platelets are present. Okay, so further, now let me just put across this way. Okay, the leukocytes can be further classified into, all right, agranulocytes and granulocytes. So this is the leukocytes. All right, under agranulocytes only two types of cells we have, that is monocytes and lymphocytes. Under granulocytes we have three different cells. Now again see, granulocytes we have three types of cells. Okay, so that is firstly we have the neutrophils, secondly basophils, and thirdly acidophils. So we have already learnt about the plasma. So plasma is a fluid component. So composition and other aspects we have already learnt about that. Okay. So these are few important aspects about the composition of vascular tissues. Alright, which we need to consider. So now students, next let us discuss about the blood corpuscles or cells. Here first of all we are going to discuss about the erythrocytes. So erythrocytes are also considered as red blood cells. Alright, let me tell you that in Greek eruthos refers to red and kaitos refers to cell. Okay, let me repeat. In Greek eruthos refers to red and kaitos refers to cell. That is why the red blood corpuscles are also referred to as erythrocytes. Okay, now further let me tell you that RBCs are the most common type of formed elements. They are the most common type of formed elements in blood. Okay, so this is one point you need to remember, the most common type of formed elements. All right, then they are very much abundant in human blood. When I say abundant, in very high numbers these red blood corpuscles or the erythrocytes can be present. So next let us discuss about their shape as well. See, generally dear students, they can be oval, all right, or biconvex and nucleated with respect to non-mammalian vertebrates. This is with respect to non-mammalian vertebrates. I am just talking with respect to these animals. Okay, that they are oval, all right, oval. They are biconvex, all right. From both these sides they will be bulged, and they possess the nucleus in them. All right, so that is nucleated. This is with respect to non-mammalian vertebrates. And further, when we consider the mammals, let me tell you that they are circular, okay, and biconcave and enucleated. All right, they are circular, biconcave and enucleated. So see, it is as such. Okay, biconcave here, see, from both these sides they will be concave, all right, and they do not possess the nucleus, hence we refer that to as enucleated. Okay, so this is with respect to the mammals. Dear students, let me tell you that the camel and llama are the only mammals, okay, where we can find, nucleated RBCs. This is with respect to, the RBCs which are matured. Okay, so always in case of camel and llama, which are the mammals which have nucleus in the RBC. All the other mammals, any kind, let it be for that matter, so they don't possess the nucleus, they are enucleated, but except these two. Remember, that is the camel and llama. So further moving ahead, let us also discuss that the approximate diameter of RBCs is around 6 to 8 micrometer. All right, and their thickness ranges between around 2 to 2.2 micrometer. So rather we can say the thickness is around 2 micrometer, and we can find around 5.5 to 6 million of RBCs, all right, per cubic millimeter of blood. We always calculate for cubic millimeter of blood. So when we consider that the RBCs are 5.5 to 6 million, which is very high number, all right. So, and this is this number how we can measure. This is with the help of an instrument called hemocytometer. This instrument helps us to, in fact, count the RBC in the blood. And furthermore, other than this, let me tell you, we have a red pigment called as hemoglobin inside the RBC cells. And let me tell you that, as I said you, the RBCs in case of mammals, they generally do not possess the nucleus, wherein we can find all that cytoplasm is deposited with lakhs of hemoglobin. All right, so hemoglobin is a iron containing red pigment. Because of this hemoglobin only, blood is red in color. So these are few important aspects we need to consider, dear students. Formation of RBCs is called erythropoiesis. All right, see, let me tell you a few important aspects here. The erythropoietic organs are present. All right, see, like for example, liver, spleen, all right, are the erythropoietic organs in liver, spleen, all right, yolk, all right, yolk sac rather we can say. All these helps in the formation of RBC in the fetus, that is the developing baby inside the womb of mother, we call fetus. Okay, and after birth, all right, there are so many important erythropoietic organs. All right, so generally the bone marrow, red bone marrow, all right, after birth the red bone marrow which is present in, all right, most of the bones of our body, having the bone marrow cavity, the red bone marrow which is present helps in the formation of RBCs through the process called erythropoiesis. This is after birth. Red bone marrow is after birth. Before birth, generally liver, spleen and yolk sacs acts as the sites for the production of RBCs. All right, now when we consider the lifespan of RBCs, their lifespan is considered to be around 120 days. After they die, okay, after 120 days they die, no, the old and the worn out RBCs are destroyed by phagocytosis. They are engulfed. All right, they are engulfed by the cells of liver. All right, they are engulfed by the cells of liver as well as spleen and also bone marrow. Are you getting my point, children? All right, three, remember, that is the first is spleen, liver and bone marrow. So they perform phagocytosis and engulf all the dead and, all right, worn out the RBC cells. All right, so let me tell you, most of them are most of the dead cells are in fact considered to be destroyed in the spleen. So that's why spleen is referred to as graveyard of RBC. Graveyard of RBCs. Okay, so these are few important aspects you need to remember with respect to their lifespan. Students, the second type of blood cells we have is the leukocytes or white blood corpuscles. All right, so both way you can refer them to as. Okay, generally these cells are colorless formed elements of the blood. They are the colorless formed elements of the blood. All right, and they do not possess hemoglobin. They lack hemoglobin. The red pigment is absent, because of which we call them to as colorless. All right, then see, it's very important for us to protect from bacteria. These cells act against bacteria and destroy it. The same it goes against the viruses or any other pathogen. All right, any other pathogen which can cause harm to our body, all right, will be destroyed by the WBC cells or the leukocytes. Okay, and let me tell you, these white blood corpuscles or the leukocytes, all right, are referred to as white cells, right? White cells. Why? Because they form white paste, all right, when separated from the other cells. When separated from other cells, they form white paste. All right, that's why they are called as the white blood corpuscles. All right, so this is about some introduction about the leukocytes. Now let us understand their shape. Okay, so their shape, all right, either they can be rounded, all right, or generally they are irregular, all right, irregular shaped cells. All right, generally we can say them as amoeboid shaped cells. Amoeboid shaped cells. Okay, so pseudopodial structures are also present here. See, like this, generally they have, okay, a prominent nucleus. Okay, so the pseudopodia performs the role of phagocytosis. Remember that. Next, let us go with the size of WBC cells. It is much larger than compared to the RBCs. Very, very high. All right, their size ranges from 12 to 20 micrometer in diameter. All right, which is very much high when compared to the RBCs. All right, and further, let me tell you, when we consider their number, all right, it's very, very low when compared to the RBCs. Say for example, if 600 RBCs, if we consider per for or every 600 RBC, for every 600 RBC there is one WBC. You can just imagine. All right, if there is one WBC, there will be approximately 600 WBC in our body. So that's why I am telling that the number is very, very high. Or in simple sense, we can say that we consider always per cubic millimeter. See, per cubic millimeter of blood we consider. All right, per cubic millimeter of blood we consider. All right, so in that sense, if we consider, the WBCs are around 4,800 to 10,800, all right, per cubic millimeter of blood, right, per cubic millimeter, all right, of per cubic millimeter. Okay, rather we can represent it all right, in full form itself, per cubic millimeter of blood, which is very very low when compared to RBCs, right students? Okay, see, when we consider the structure of the WBCs are nucleated. They possess the, compulsorily we can find the nucleus in the WBC cells, okay, and they also contain the cellular organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, all right, and all the other cellular organelles can be present in the WBCs, okay. It's like a normal typical animal cell, okay. Then further, dear students, the formation of WBCs is called as leucopoiesis, all right. Formation of WBCs is called as leucopoiesis. So where does it form? The WBC cells formation occurs in yellow bone marrow, all right, yellow bone marrow, okay, firstly, all right, and also it occurs in lymph nodes, okay. Then in the spleen also we can find their formation, as well as in thymus, all right. Thymus is a organ, okay, important for immunity, all right, which is present near the heart, okay, as well as Peyer's patch near the small intestine, all right, Peyer's patch, okay. Peyer's patch also helps in the production of, all right, WBC cells, okay. Yellow bone marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, thymus and Peyer's patch are the important sites for the formation of the WBCs, okay. Their lifespan, now let me move to the lifespan of WBCs. They have much less lifespan when compared to the RBCs, all right. The lifespan of WBCs ranges between, all right, it depends from 4 to 13, or rather we can say 4 to, even some cells can survive even up till 20 days, all right. So this is the lifespan of the WBC cells. Students, next let us move on discussing about the types of WBCs, or it can also be called as leukocytes, right? Okay. The first type we have is agranulocytes, okay. So what are agranulocytes? These are the type of WBCs where the granule-like structures or granules, what we call, are absent in their cytoplasm. They are absent in the cytoplasm. That's very important to note down, okay. So that's why they are called as agranulocytes, all right. So these agranulocytes are of two types, dear students. Agranulocytes are of two types. Firstly, we have the lymphocyte, okay, lymphocytes rather, okay. So these are the smallest WBC, okay, produced in the lymph nodes. They are produced in the lymph nodes and they are the smallest WBC, okay, cells. Fine. Their nucleus is spherical. See, I can show the structure. It will be like this. They are smallest WBCs with a prominent nucleus, okay. They have a very prominent nucleus in them, okay, and they don't have any granule like structures in their, okay, cytoplasm, all right. And their role, lymphocytes role is to produce the antibodies. See, antibodies or immunoglobulins, what you call, are important for fighting the infections or infectious pathogens which attack our body, okay. So this is about the first type of agranulocyte, that is lymphocyte. Next, second type of agranulocyte we have is that of monocytes. Alright. See, these monocytes, dear students, are largest WBCs. They are largest WBCs. Okay. The first point you can remember, they are the largest. Okay. They are in fact, when we consider, they are not produced in the lymph nodes, they are produced in the bone marrow. Okay, of the bone marrow of the bone, these monocytes are produced. The nucleus here is, see, they are very big cells. Okay, so the nucleus is kidney shaped. All right, roughly it is kidney shaped, dear students. Okay, so this is about the monocytes and their role. Let me tell you, they are phagocytic in function. They perform cytosis. What do we mean by phagocytosis? When any of the microbe comes and attacks our body, they engulf or they directly take inside their body and digest it. Okay, so that is the role of monocytes, which are the second type of agranulocytes. So only we have two types. One is the lymphocytes and the second one is the monocytes under agranulocytes, and they do not have any grain like structures in their cytoplasm. Secondly, dear students, we have granulocytes. Second type of WBC cells are granulocytes. So these WBCs contains granules in their cytoplasm. They have granules in their cytoplasm. This is very important to note, dear students. Okay, and they perform, most of them perform phagocytic functions. Phagocytic means they engulf the microorganisms. There are three types of granulocytes. Firstly, we have eosinophils. The first type we have is eosinophils. When we consider the eosinophils, they constitute about 2 to 4% of the total WBC. First point. Okay, their nucleus, when we consider this cell C, this is the eosinophil, and their nucleus is bilobed. Their nucleus is bilobed. Two lobes will be present, as you can see here, and as I said, they have grain like structures in their cytoplasm. That's why they come under granulocytes. Okay, so this is the first type, dear students. And few more important aspects if I want to tell you. The granules which I am representing now here, the cytoplasmic granules which are present in their cytoplasm, can take red stain. They can be stained through red stain. Alright, like for example, we have acidic red stain called eosin. Alright, through eosin or red stain, they can be stained. This is about the first type of granulocytes. Next, let us discuss about the second type, that is the basophils. So here, when we consider the basophils, they just contribute about 1% of the total WBC, just 1%. And their nucleus is trilobed. Like, let me show you. See, just consider this as the neutrophil, right? Sorry, we are discussing about here the basophil. So basophil's nucleus is trilobed. Alright, see, this is one lobe. To go with this, one more lobe and one more lobe. So they have the nucleus which is trilobed. So they also have grain-like structures, granules we call, in their cytoplasm. Alright, and they get stained with a basic dye, like for example methylene blue. If we use methylene blue, we can clearly observe this cell, because the granules which are present in the cytoplasm can take up this basic stain, alright, alkaline stain called as the what we call methylene blue. Alright, then further, dear students, we have the third and the final type of granulocyte, that is neutrophils. Alright. These neutrophils are most abundant WBCs. They constitute about 70%, which is very high. Their nucleus is 4 to 6 lobed. Alright. Say for example, this is a cell. Alright. The nucleus will be, this is one lobe, then second lobe, third lobe, fourth lobe. Alright. Fifth, sixth. Many lobes. Okay. We can say rather as multi-lobed nucleus will be present. As they are granulocytes, they have grain-like structures in their, called granules in their cytoplasm, dear students. Okay. So this is neutrophil. Alright. And let me tell you, they are neutral to both acidic and basic dyes. Alright. So this is about the different types of granulocytes. Then finally, the last type of cells which are present in the blood are the platelets, or we can also call the platelets as thrombocytes. Alright, they are formed by a process called thrombopoiesis. Okay, and further they are important for blood clotting in our body. They perform the role of blood clotting in our body, dear students, and they are also important to provide us the immunity against the infection. Okay, generally, when we consider these cells, they are non-nucleated or enucleated. They do not possess the nucleus in them. And these cells can be, their shape can be either spherical, or they can be oval, or they can be irregular. Or generally we can say that these cells are amoeboid as well. Okay. So these are the different shapes of the platelets. And where they are produced, dear students, the platelets are produced in the bone marrow. Alright, they are produced in the bone marrow. Alright, from the specialized cells called megakaryocytes. Alright, remember this point. They are formed from the megakaryocytes of the bone marrow, and their lifespan is between 4 to 7 days. Okay, very less when compared to the other different types of the cells. Dear students, when we consider the number of platelets per cubic millimeter of the blood, it ranges between 2,50,000 to around 4 lakh platelets are present per cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, so rather we can say that they are little bit higher than the WBCs. Alright, and very less when compared to RBCs. Alright, so generally, as I said you, that these cells lifespan is maximum about 1 week they will survive. Alright, and these cells, after they die, again they also are disposed of, okay, by phagocytosis. Leukocytes will engulf these cells, okay, and digest them. Alright, so remember, these are few important aspects you need to remember. Next type of fluid connective tissue we have is lymph. Alright, so first of all, let me tell you that lymph is considered as colorless body fluid. First important point you remember, this is a colorless body fluid which contains, okay, the lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are what? They are types of WBCs, correct, or leukocytes, right? This is the first point. Okay, and under that, let me tell you one more point. They generally do not possess much of proteins, only very small amount of, we can find the proteins present in the lymph. Okay, so other than that, if we consider the lymph, okay, see, it has calcium, okay, as well as phosphorus, all right, other than the proteins which are very very less when compared to the blood. Okay, other than that, calcium and phosphorus is also present, but not as much as blood. It is also very less we can find. Okay, then further let me tell you, glucose is present in very high quantities in the lymph, dear students. All right, so further, the plasma of lymph, rather the fluid component of the lymph, the plasma of the lymph is derived from, see, the plasma or the fluid component of the lymph, this is derived from, all right, from the blood itself. Are you getting my point? Through a process called ultrafiltration. Through ultrafiltration from the blood itself, the plasma of the lymph is derived, dear students. Okay, now let me tell you in simple sense, if you are speaking about the lymph, okay, see, blood minus, okay, RBCs, platelets, okay, and some proteins, okay, is what we call it to as lymph, dear students. Okay, let me repeat one more time. So blood minus, so if you remove from the blood, what it has, RBCs it has, but it is absent in the lymph. Platelet it has, platelets are absent in lymph, and many proteins the blood has. So almost most of the proteins are absent here, only few proteins are present. Okay, so if you remove that, then we can consider that lymph is almost same as compared to blood. Okay, so and further let me also tell you that lymph is important to perform the role of phagocytosis in our body. Okay, phagocytosis means we know engulfing of the microorganisms which causes infections. So where they are produced, see, they are produced in lymph glands, like for example the tonsils. I am talking about the lymphocytes, the cells which are present in the lymph which perform the role of phagocytosis. They are produced in tonsils and thymus as well. Okay, and to go with that, spleen and liver. Okay, they are the major sites rather. Okay, so in all these sites we can find the production of the lymphocytes. Dear students, let us understand few important functions of the lymph. All right, see, first important function of lymph is that it is called as the middleman between the blood and cells. Why do we call so? Okay, what is the reason for that? Because the lymph passes the oxygen and food. It passes the oxygen and food from the blood to the tissue, and okay, from the blood to, okay, let me represent here, from the blood to the tissues. Okay, it passes the oxygen and the food. One point. Okay, on the other note, nitrogenous wastes, all right, and hormones, as well as carbon dioxide hormones as well. Okay, so it carries from the body cells to the blood. Okay, so please understand. Okay, that is why it is called as the middleman. Okay, it carries the blood, from the blood to the tissues, the oxygen, food. Okay, and the nitrogenous waste, carbon dioxide hormones, it carries from the blood cells to the blood. Okay, for their, all right, elimination. All right, so this is the important function. Because of this reason they are called as middlemen between the blood and the cells. Second important function, okay, it helps in the absorption of fats and fat soluble vitamins. Okay, it helps in the absorption of fats and fat soluble vitamins. Okay, so where from the digestive system, this is also one of the important function. Then it also helps in important role it performs in the defense against microorganisms. It helps in fighting the infections. The lymphocytes which are present helps in fighting against the infections by killing the invading pathogens. It kills the invading pathogens which enter our body generally through phagocytosis. Okay, students, so these are few important functions you can remember with respect to lymph. Thank you very much.